the
Hey,
high
Zach.
level of
Appreciate you, brother.
Recently.
All right, well, let's go ahead and talk about modes. Arena available in Alpha Weekend 4. We're super excited for players to get their hands on it.
Yep.
Are you switched to Arena? You want to hop
I will
in?
have to get the
Let's
cameras
hide pawn
off my
screen. Hide
Okay,
the
yeah,
screen.
yeah.
No spoilers.
So we'll look at the Arena map while we talk about it instead of looking at the patch notes.
Yeah.
But to speak high level to Arena, it's we wanted to maintain a lot of the magic that is in Smite 1 Arena. Arena is kind of like, it's got a secret sauce to it that if you mess with the formula too much, it doesn't really get better. We have a few really cool, interesting twists that we've added to the Smite 2 Arena from a gameplay side that I'm really excited about, but the core structure is the same.
Yeah.
We wanted to encourage constant fighting, potentially even to reckless degrees. That's what makes Arena fun, honestly. We have a lot of the theming and visuals and audio that people like, the crowd cheering, the spectacle of it. Like, that was a big thing to keep in mind and to move over. And just the art set is a kind of a similar art set as what you would see in Smite 1, but upgraded to the new engine. And it's something we plan to continue to build upon.
Right.
So it's kind of a foundational art set for the Arena.
This is the first iteration of Arena, right? We're going to continue to work on it as we go. But
the new lighting systems and other things like that still bring a whole new environment feel to it that you don't quite get in the old game.
Yeah.
Okay, we are in. We made it into Arena.
All right.
So I know a lot of people are really excited to play Arena on Smite 2 just because they like the mode, they like the potentially the risk and reward differences between Conquest
It's the exact same.
Arena, and just the ability to more rapidly test larger combat scenarios and different gods. So there's a lot of advantages.
So it's pretty
having
much
Arena
the
in
exact
early and
same
just
then.
giving our players more options.
Absolutely.
Which
So
I guess
let's
is
go over
fine.
some of the new
I don't really care
features
about
in
it,
this new Arena as we walk around and look at this art. So first of all, we'll see some stealth zones added to the center of the arena. So, people are generally going to have eyes on you. You're not really going to get
I guess they don't need to make it a whole new
but
thing.
You can use
I
these
guess.
stealth zones really wisely to, dash and leap into. Just breaking vision from your opponents for a short period of time could be enough to survive and escape. It can make a really big difference. And we've seen some really cool plays with this internally. Let's see. Jungle buffs. So the jungle buffs in the arena are going to have the same buffs as are in Conquest.
Yes.
Sorted by color. So there's no speed buff. But the blue, red, and purple buffs in Arena will do the same thing they do in Conquest, and they're automatically set to level 3.
Yes.
So the Conquest system, they start at level 1 and have to rank up, but in Smite, well, that one says level 2, but Patchnotes says level 3. Maybe just a typo. But they're all automatically going to be leveled up already, and they're not going to be leveled up
unfortunately,
by
you have
the
to
Infamy
have
system
you
in
have to
Arena.
add
They're just
Arena,
gonna stay
unfortunately.
at that static level.
It's too
And as
important
Paul
not
is
to add, even though
demonstrating, you can
I
still
don't like
stack the
Arena.
buffs in Arena. So Arena becoming a little bit more strategic on
Smite 2's success is contingent on having
particular
Arena
jungle
for the
stacking
people that want to
specifically
play
in
it.
Arena. So often I feel like I'm the only one on my team going and clearing the buffs because
yeah.
everyone's still
I
just
just don't
fighting,
like the game mode.
Yeah.
I think
and
it's
I'm like,
really boring.
yo, does anyone want this red buff? And my whole team just doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Now I can just have
Exactly. I'm taking all the buffs.
buffs.
You aren't coming over here to clear buffs with me. I'm taking them.
I'll literally be pinging people like, hey, red buff right here, right near you. It would be good for you. And they will just ignore me. So now I can actually get them all, which will be hilarious.
Sweet. Well, the next feature, as people may have noticed, the ward relic is gone, and
You're
there's
telling me wards wouldn't be useful in Arena? What about the stealth grass?
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
It's small. I was just, yeah. So, yeah, we have a new effect here called Battle Cry. And this is something we'll, potentially look into doing in more modes and changing things around. Oh, we've got our
the
other
fuck?
new
It's
effect.
new too.
Perfect
Oh my
timing.
goodness.
A gift.
Whoa, what is that? Well, we'll talk about Warcry
One at a
first.
time.
So
Let's do the gift
or
first.
battle.
It's timing out. It's timing out.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
timing out?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Pick up the gift then. So there's a new pickup feature on this mode called Crowd Gifts. Every 90 seconds, the crowd throws a gift into the arena. Any team can pick these up. Every time a gift is thrown, the timer gets faster. So it starts at 90 seconds, but then it gets faster, 5 seconds each. And then within that timer, every kill will speed it up even faster. So when you kill lots of people, the crowd goes wild and throws more gifts into the arena.
They want to see fighting,
Yeah,
right?
by the end of this, you just see them flying out of the stands. You see a whole bunch of them falling into. Everyone's trying to run to pick them up as they get the last few kills. It's pretty hype.
And so what they do is give you bonus strength, intelligence, and health regen. So they're relatively powerful, and they
How long do they
scale up
last?
in their effects throughout the match.
How long does it
but
last?
they don't stack, right, Pon? You can't pick up multiple gifts. You can
think they just
refresh.
refresh.
Yeah, so just refresh, but not stack. So you want your whole team to get them, or you can refresh yours as you need to. But that's one of the new twists on the arena, just completely new, is this crowd gifts. It works really well into the tone and the theme of the arena, and uses the new systems in Smite 2, and adds some new strategic depth to encourage people to fight, move into dangerous positions, and not just stalemate looking at each other. Okay, back to Battlecry. So this is a new active in place of your ward slot. It charges up every time you get a kill or you die. And when you activate it, you get a strength, intelligence, and health regen buff that scales off of how much you charge it up.
Yeah.
So you can use it more frequently if you keep charging it up, and it's even more powerful if you wait until you're full charge before you use it.
Yeah, if you're getting a lot of kills, you can use these to spike up for a lot of damage on an engage, or even just a lot of regen. Like you heal a surprising amount of health when these are fully stacked up.
So that's the first new mechanic was Battlecry. So we have stealth zones, Battlecry, gifts. Another new mechanic on Arena is the hot streak. So we wanted to actually put some additional gameplay value and some strength and some risk reward into who was the kill streak player in Arena, right? You have these arena matches where one person's going 10-0, and you already know you want to kill that player. There's already some value to it. We wanted to take that up a notch even more. So if you go on a killing streak in
and
Arena,
deal more damage.
You now have the Arena hot streak effect available to you as well. You will take 20% more
the
damage.
things they're adding
but
to
also
Arena
deal
instantly make it better.
20%
The issue is that
So you become
when it was played really
super high
seriously, it was
risk
just
reward.
boring. It was just
And
it was
becomes even more valuable to kill you. They get bonus gold, additional bonus gold, depending on how high level you are. So, now you can actually be the player who he's heating up in the arena.
I love that change. Definitely just rewards you fighting, performing well in Arena. You just become that more deadly whenever you're on a hot
I got
streak.
all the things right now.
Oh my God. Look at that. The effects are stacking really nicely, honestly,
Yeah,
too.
look how
There's a
strong I
material
look.
glow, the lightning. This is some late stage DBZ stuff.
these
right
are good
here.
changes. These are changes that make. So my
one
issue with
more
Arena
mechanical change
was it just it was just a lot
the
of
10 ticket phase.
CC or
Arena
blink
mains out
areas
there know what I
or
mean. So when the
safe
game gets to
farming.
10
There's
tickets,
there's
the
not really
rules kinda
ganking.
change.
Obviously, there's not
we
really
didn't want to
assassin.
change that system
I don't
because
know.
it works really well, but we did want to draw more attention to it, add some visual clarity and some flair to it. It's going to be very hard for something for Pond to simulate right now, so we won't be. Let's not demo it. I'm just going to describe it to you. But when you when a team reaches the 10 tickets left phase, the crowd will start cheering more intensely, and gifts will be thrown even faster. The crowd will also throw gifts at a little bit towards the team. It seems like the direction of the gifts might be favored towards the team that's ahead. And the brutes on the team that is losing, so the team that the 10 brutes that need to die, right? They're the only ones worth tickets anymore. So they're now going to have they're all going to be fired up. They're going to be more powerful. They're going to deal more damage and take less damage. So those brutes are going to be more clearly denoted as a specific objective, and they're going to be a little bit feel more like an objective to kill, as opposed to just a slightly tankier minion. So that's it for the game mechanics of Arena. One of the last things I want to call out here is the HUD. We've got a new ticket system HUD there at the top center, which is more near the more central area. On Smite 1, it's over near the mini map, which is not where you usually go to look for your key gameplay information on how the match is progressing. So now you can see that up top. You can see the tickets.
These are good changes.
You also see the Minotaur counter. So Minotaurs are still in every 10 kills. The team who gets the kills will spawn the Minotaur. And if you push those through the base, rules are essentially the same, right? Killing minions gets 1 ticket. Killing gods gets 5 tickets. Pushing a minion into the base gives 5 tickets. Pushing a escort through the base, I think, is a lot more tickets. It's all essentially the same rules as my one.
It's the Arena fans know and love with just a couple of minor tweaks and new mechanics.
Yeah, the twist mechanics on this, I think, are really a really cool way to explore a lot of the philosophies we've been getting with Smite 1 of finding cool, fun twists to add. Oh, and he goes. There are new animations, I think, for pulling the minions in and stuff like that, too. And yeah, the core of the mode, maintaining a lot of the fun that people love and expect, but bringing on some new fun twists on top of it.
Absolutely. Well, we're super excited for people to hop into Arena. I know a lot of players have been waiting for Arena in Smite 2, so super excited to see everyone hop in this weekend. Let's go ahead and move on to Conquest. Don't have a lot for Conquest, but we do have some fixes and a couple of changes here for the Conquest mode.
Is there anything we know we're going to be going in game for?
I want to go back into game for the new jungle practice map.
Okay, so switch
New
there
jungle
now.
practice.
Yes,
Yeah.
switch there now. So we'll talk about Conquest real quick. Yeah, we were really focused on the arena map and the new jungle practice map. So we're about to go to jungle practice. It's a completely new map with a lot of cool new features too. So Conquest just got a little bit of balance change this update. The most important one that we got was the protection shred from the yellow buff, speed buff, high level was really strong. That buff was just really strong. That buff got a lot of other powerful effects. So then it also had this PvP powerful effect, and it was a little too much. So we cut down the numbers pretty significantly on that. Outside of that, we kept Conquest a little light this patch, focused on some other things. We'll definitely be focusing on Conquest very heavily as we approach the 24/7.
Lots of Conquest stuff coming for 24/7.
And you saw a little sneak peek of a new objective that was hidden in the map today, a new monster.
People go
hiding
back
in the
and clip
jungle.
it and speculate. I want to see on Reddit, whatever you guys think.
There is a new camp that was already in there being tested for the next build, and we're gonna keep having regular mechanical updates to Conquest, but just getting Arena into existence in the first place was a really important milestone to make sure we hit first. So now we're back to Conquest, and can't really speak to anything specifically about the other game modes, but other game modes for Smite 2 are in progress and making good progress, and we're not going to give away the exact release cadence of those, but we know that Smite is a multi-mode game, and most of our players are multi-mode players, and we're working towards that.
Yep, absolutely. Well, while
All right,
Pong
let's
gets
look
ready,
at this hot new jungle practice.
new jungle practice.
Yeah.
Are we ready?
We are ready.
Okay. So in jungle practice, you'll be presented with a change. So
Ooh.
here's the new jungle practice map.
There we go.
So
Looking nice.
yeah, and it's a lot nicer than the gray box Unreal Engine we were working in before. I mean, it was kind of nice to give people a taste of what the engine really looked like default. But yeah, we now have this. You can see we have this center circle area. And we also have some alcoves along the side that gives us plenty of room to expand into the future. What you're going to see in this initial jungle practice, besides the all-new environment art, which is really nice, pretty, you might not care about that as much because you're just here to test things, but there's a couple really important testing features. So
That's nice.
First of
Damage
all,
per
you'll see
second
that
and-
Godbots spawn in with a DPS and total
That's
damage
nice.
counter.
Oh, yeah.
So you can keep track of how much damage you're dealing per second.
That's nice.
And total damage, which is really cool.
That's great.
It's also a test jungle camp, so you can kind of test versus gods or versus jungles. You can also choose between any of the Conquest jungle buffs to change it. Now, here's where it gets taken up a notch. Here's where we Smite 2'd this
There we go.
real hard. Why don't you press the tab button for me, Pon? Boom. We now have UI-based practice tools with a variety of features that you usually had to go run to a pad to, which was kind of a pain.
That's dope.
And we have a bunch of features that didn't ever exist in Smite 1. So I know the people who are really interested in lots
That's
of
dope.
crazy detailed practice are going to be enjoying these features. So you can toggle a lot of the stuff at the top. You can see those. A lot of those are mostly stuff you've had before. Different stuff we have down here is the bottom and the control over Godbots. So first of all, if you want to reset the damage and DPS counter, you just spawn a new bot. Those will never reset. You just kill the god or spawn it. You can now choose to spawn it on whichever team you want, and you can choose whichever level you want to spawn it. Now, the probably the biggest new feature here that we have so far is the ability to give inventory. So you can now spawn god bots with whatever item build you want them to have by building it yourself first. So you build the inventory you want to give them and then spawn a godbot. They will have all of those items. And then you can sell and rearrange and whatever, pick your build. So you can test whatever build versus build you want to test.
So you can see here that these two Ymirs are both level 9 Ymirs, but one clearly has the inventory, one doesn't, because I spawned that one before I gave
Way more health, yeah.
which makes sense with the items that I've built.
But you can also test for like damage auras and passive effects, and you can trigger those things all on the bots. So again, this is just kind of laying out some of the foundations for this mode, but it has a lot of immediate new features that are brand new to Smite 2, going to be really helpful for content creation, theory crafting, and playtesting. And it has lots of room for improvement, lots of room to expand over time.
Yep.
So this was like a pretty big feature, and people were actually like really asking for this a lot from very early because when people load into a new game, or they load into a Smite on a new update, a lot of people just like to come here first, play the new god, play the new skins,
try everything out, try
whatever. Yeah. So there's a full god select before you join this that lets you pick any god, any skin. You can enter the practice mode either when you're viewing a god's abilities on the front end ability screen. You can enter practice directly from there, or you can just queue up, essentially change game mode and queue up to practice mode, enter from there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, that wraps it up for modes. How about we move into talking about new gods?
Yeah, Pon, do you want to just test the new gods in this map?
Yeah, why not?
We talked about doing
here.
that before.
I mean, I'm going to use my cheats because I have Hook Me Up, and I like
There
that
we go.
one. But we can spawn bots as we need to.
Hook Me Up effectively just turns on all of those things in the
Yes.
at the top. Sets you level 20, infinite cooldown, infinite mana. That's really all it does. So
we
we have
have
Ares, but we also have Susano. He's first on the patch notes list, so we should probably
Yeah,
go in
let's go to
order
him.
and switch to Susano.
Yeah, let's
Susano?
talk about Susano.
So, Pon, you just want to do the usual. Let's do this. Just a kit demo.
I have we actually have a bug in dev right now, so I think I actually have to relaunch. Let me see if I can fix this in real time, real quick.
This is not in the alpha build that y'all are about to
Right,
play.
yeah.
We're in a future build already here, so we encountered
Yeah,
it.
well, while Pon's getting ready, talk to just a little bit about how Susano made his way into Smite and kind of the approach for Susano.
Well, there's a lot of hype around this guy,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like one of the fastest, flashiest, often high skill ceiling god. Although even mediocre Susanos can be a pain for you sometimes. But a lot going on with this character. A lot of people were excited to see him come to the game. He also kind of limit tests the game. Susano has a little bit of everything.
Yes.
And more than a little bit of some things, maybe more than he should have, right?
Susano.
Historically, a god that has always had a lot of polarizing balance perceptions. He's got really good damage, really good mobility, really good CZ. He's kind of got it all, right? So trying to balance a god like that is a challenge, and we wanted to bring him in early to Smite 2 to really help
Better blow your
explore
mind,
the limit
exactly.
testing of pushing how many features a kit can have,
Yeah.
right? Susano is up there at the tippity top.
Oh, yeah.
So when we were thinking about porting him over to Smite 2, that was one thing that was really important and something we really planned around. The other one was muscle memory.
Yeah.
Susano is like an extreme muscle memory, absolutely amazing kit flow character.
Yeah, we
we
can hop
didn't
back
want to
in game now.
disrupt that.
Yeah.
So because of those two things, that kind of spells out where I'm going here, which is like we didn't want to change him too intensely. If we change his ability in any way that could disrupt the whole kit flow, that like even if it's a new thing added to the ability presses, it could make the kit flow differently and could throw off the muscle memory, could feel frustrating to opponents, etc. So his 1 through 4 are mostly unchanged. They're really flashy, they're really cool, they're really smooth, fast. A lot of like the general improvements you have on Smite 2. And a couple like quality of life features. The big change here is the passive. He's got a completely new passive, which I think the passive is really cool here. It's called Storm's Edge, and it's whenever you use an ability, your next basic attack will debuff the enemy hit. So it effectively rewards you for in-hand canceling, and it stacks. So this is a kind of a new type of debuffing stacks that instead of just stacking the same effect many, many times, it actually stacks on different effects. So when you hit them with 2 stacks, they have reduced strength. For when you have 3 to 4 stacks, they have reduced strength and are slowed. And when they have 5 to 6 stacks, they have reduced strength and are slowed and take increased damage.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So it's really like if you fully in-hand cancel throughout the whole kit, you can stack it up. But it's kind
I
of
don't know
hard
if I
to
like
do
the
that
alt better.
unless you
It
really
looks
hit
cooler, but
everything.
I think
And if this
I
character
feel like
is
it was more
still
full.
alive after all that. They will have to live through the.
It's flat.
debuffs
Like
that
the colors
Susano has
definitely
left
look
on.
better.
Let your team clean up.
The colors definitely look better, but I kind of
And
liked
this
how
also has a
it
new
used to
HUD
look
element only
bigger,
visible
didn't
to
it?
Susano that shows him how many passive stacks he's applied to the target gods, which we just saw a minute ago. I mean, I think it went away on that Ymir when.
Yeah, the Ymir bots will sometimes behave strangely with these elements. You can see there they disappear because the other one is respawning.
Yeah.
But we did see it a few times. I was able to stack it up to 6 times. You could see that there was that stack counter that showed you all the various stacks that you got. Yeah.
Right. One of the other notable changes is the Typhoon during its build-up. It does not have that slow, like, mini vortex pull into it anymore, but it does just have some dot damage. Wanted to make sure you felt something when you're in that, you're in a building storm. You want to know there's some effect, but the the pull there was questionable strength because it was like a vortex, not a slow. It was hard to feel, hard to map, and it potentially contributing to him having just a little bit too much CC on the kit. And there was quite a bit of effort that went into making sure that Storm Kata flows really smoothly and works like what people are used to make for easy in-hand canceling on both PC and console. The Storm Kata has the feature where if you cancel the ability early, don't use the second or third hit, it will have short cooldown. So it only has a full normal cooldown if you use the full set of the ability. So if you need to just like get out of there early, you won't be punished for that. I think that's. I mean, most of it is Smite 1. So
Yeah, again, very similar. Susano has just a lot of things in his kit, lots of CC, mobility, control. We want to really just encourage that extra reward for doing the thing that he's really good at, which is that in-hand weaving in between each of his usages that really puts him as a very high damage assassin when he's able to do that in-hand weaving.
Yeah, he's looking sick too. I'm loving the effects on all of his abilities.
Yeah, his effects look really great. I will say that we're still in the middle of a little bit of like a clarity pass adjustment for a lot of gods, including ones that have already shipped and ones in progress. So there might be some further changes to this ability, to these abilities for the visuals over time. But Susano is one of the newer gods, so our newer principles, lessons learned are being applied
the
here.
electricity
So,
on his abilities looks really nice.
The clarity there.
And in this map, the bloom is turned up a little bit high, so that's why you can see sometimes the sparks on his things are a little bit intense. That's stuff that is known about the bloom being off on some of the maps that we play on.
It's essentially a lighting effect of this map alone, so it might look a little bit different here on Conquest too.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Pawn.
All right.
Good note.
Well, Ares is
Yeah,
up
I
next.
agree.
My boy.
God of War.
Okay, we
Let's
have
talk
to
about
leave
Ares.
again because I can't switch class to him without breaking.
So we have to go back to
All right,
Patchnotes. We'll
production.
do the little
Pull us up, production.
Patchnotes.
Ares.
We'll do the little intro for Ares while Pawn switches.
It looked like
There we
he
go.
looked the same.
Okay, so Ares has a little more change than
Yeah.
Susano.
Okay.
Which is funny because I think some early flash testers were like, what changed about Ares? Was like, well, 2 whole abilities were reworked plus other changes. So but some changes easier to see right off the bat than others. But in general, again, Ares also a very successful god, one we think has aged really well, really fun, really exciting. One of our highest DPS supports, right? High kill potential for a support. Has a lot of forms of control, but kind of in different ways than other gods that play support do. He doesn't really have that lockdown as much as he has that attrition and damage over time.
Yeah,
and,
no spoilers
the
because we
crippling
haven't.
effect, right, preventing people from dashing away.
We're not reading it.
so-
We're just listening live.
The big changes to Ares are
Just
going
in
to
case
be
people
his
aren't reading.
passive.
I mean, I
and
know what
his
it is,
ability
but-
2 are both going to be completely new.
And we are back in game.
Oh, that was so fast.
quick.
Yeah.
Look at you. There's no one better at this job than Pon. This specific job of driving during the patch
yeah.
notes.
Do you want me to go over the passive?
Yeah. Why don't you?
Yeah, so the first major thing you'll notice is his passive is different. You can see that I'm giving both intelligence and strength down here. And the way that works is his passive in Smite 1 is all about building a whole bunch of ore items to get a whole bunch of magical power. And that is something that we just don't really have as many aura items in Smite 2, largely because we're trying to make sure that we don't have these characters that just turn into aura bots to provide everyone a whole bunch of protections and make it so that everyone has to, there's a lot of things that came with aura items, but since we don't really have
Support's
those,
being
Ares
OP
needed
is enough.
something new. And we want to give him a more unique build challenge, because the aura was a kind of fun build challenge that he had. So now what it is for every 20% of your protections that you buy from items, that gets converted into strength. For 100% of the cooldown rate you buy, that's converted into intelligence. So the more protections you build, the more strength you're bringing to your team in an aura, including yourself. For the more cooldown reduction you're going, or cooldown rate that you're going, you'll bring more intelligence to your team. And Ares is a god that scales off both of them as well, so you can focus on different aspects of your kit, or you can choose to build to specifically augment how your team wants to play. So he himself is a very aggressive aura bot, where as he builds more utility and more kind of tanky, supporty, he brings that extra power to the team. Or he can obviously go pure damage and forgo this. You get some for free from just leveling up.
Yeah.
Full int and cooldown would make for a really strong just int DPS build. Like I've played jungle Ares full int, full magic power in Smite 1, and it's underrated. It's good. So Ares
Interesting.
has a lot of flex to be, true tank. Even when he's true tank, he's going to do some damage.
Right.
Even if you build full true tank, but he has a lot of really interesting. This passive gives him those hybrid build options that can be really good, or even more true DPS build options.
And in fitting with his theme is this kind of war leader who wants to lead the charge and just wants to get into the thick of it and fight and be aggressive as the god of war. His 2 has also been reworked. In Smite 1, it was an aura that you activated that just gave everyone some protections and some HP 5. And in Smite 2, it's a lot more active. So when you activate it, you give everyone who's around you immediately a long duration buff. And I believe the buff is about 6 seconds long. And this buff gives you protections and in-hand power. So all your basic attacks hit harder. So if I activate it, you can see I buff myself and now I deal some more damage with my auto attacks. You can see I also have a mark on me that's really bright and lit up right now. And what that is as you deal damage to gods, you get stacks. So activate it. This is empty. 1, 2, 3. Oh, because I have a proc, it procced it. So my item also counted as a proc. But if you attack a god with 3 unique instances of damage, the buff triples in strength and gets 4 seconds longer in duration, and that's tracked separately for your whole team. So you buff your team with this aggressive thing that wants them to go in and fight, and if they are successful at that, they get to reap the benefits
Make
of
areas
that and
all
actually
execute,
get to be way more powerful. So a much more active, more offensive, asking your team to do something type of effect than the passive aura that he previously had in the second ability. All in the theme of he is that kind of frontline support who wants to be in the thick of fights and wants to encourage his team to be in the thick of fights.
So it is still a point blank AoE buff. It's essentially like the same shape.
Oh, I missed there
of a hit
too. That's unfortunate.
Ability, but it has very different effects and the
His 2
unique
increases
individual
his
upgrade
damage?
per player. So if you buff your whole team, each individual ally has to do their own performance-based challenge to buff to stack that up and power it up for themselves. Was something really new and really exciting that we think fits the character and the kit like really well. Cool. And it's one of those things I'm just like surprised we hadn't done something quite like this yet before.
Yeah.
So it just feels super natural to Smite and Ares, and it's really fun to play with.
And it wouldn't be Ares without some chains, right, Fawn?
So we also got, of course, his AO1 chain shackle ability, and we got some really cool stuff going on with the chain tech where it kind of droops and gets more taut as you actually get in different ranges. And one of the nice quality of life features we actually added was it actually now shows when it's about to break. So you can see here, I'm actually at a range where if I keep going, it's going to break. And if I keep going, sure enough, it breaks. So you get a little bit more feedback, both from the actual chain itself, but also just that little bit of flashing.
And look at that refire border around the ability icon. Shows you the refire window.
That's nice.
Good.
I like the
third
sounds.
ability, obviously, is the other thing about this is he is
sounds
strength
more
and intelligence
bulky
based
of
now.
a chain.
So all the things that are like the physical aspects of him hitting with the sword, the chain connecting with you, those are strength. So those are the ones that actually scale off the strength, and you can make it so your initial hit of your chain hits really hard. Things that are more burning, like the actual chain being on you, this hot chain on you, the flamethrower from his AO3, those are more intelligence based, and they will scale off intelligence. So his 3, which does this kind of burning damage and does percentile health damage, the percentile health damage actually scales with your intelligence. So depending on what you focus on, you can be more this long duration burn percentile health damage, or it can be a lot more burstier with your chain initial hits and your auto attacks in between. Another nice quality of life change is there are some rules around, like if you chain someone and they 3'd, you could keep firing your chain. But if you did it the reverse way, that actually didn't work in Smite 1. We've now just eased that up, so now you can obviously use both during each other freely without any
That makes so much more sense. You don't always have to like wait.
And then the final change we have is for his ultimate. His ultimate is super iconic. We went
if you miss a chain, can you still do another one? No.
Trying to see if we needed to change him based off of beads being a more limited resource, or if people felt like they could try and get away from him with Blink, or if we wanted to try stuff different. But we realized that like he does do the ultimate where he pulls everyone in, and so obviously you got this big giant pull, everyone comes in. The main change for him is, one, it now has a visual pull component, so instead of just teleporting instantly to the center, they actually get pulled towards that location. So you get a little bit of just more movement in the ability, which feels good. But also, so we're gonna pull them, come crashing down, they get stunned. But also if I whiff, because at some point you're gonna blink Ares and whiff.
It happens to the best of us.
This area underneath him, when he comes slamming down, is still a stun area.
Oh yeah.
So not only can you pull someone, but you could also like stand on top of your carry and like protect them from someone who you might miss the initial pull on, and that gives you that extra flexibility of just your position matters a little bit more.
But what do you do since you don't have beads
anymore?
anymore?
People, you might want to like try
what
and
is the
land on someone
counterplay
that
here?
Successfully pull, or they might have.
How is he
off
not
the pull,
like? What's the counterplay
punish
here?
them for that by landing on them instead. So that little extra bit of control is going to be useful for him.
You would just have to opt for not blink. Yeah.
I think a lot of good use of that.
We got to talk about the CC immunity rules too, Pon Pon.
Yep. So the other big thing is Ares ultimate, the pull was you had to immune it at the moment of the pull. And over Smite's lifetime, we've done
probably
different rules
Daji
on, like,
change.
what happens with things when you pure beads off them. Daji notably has the chain so that if you get hit, if you beads, they just go off you. You don't have to wait for that pull time. And we wanted to match that behavior because we think that just gives players more control over when they actually remove this effect.
That makes sense.
So if you become CC immune at any point during the chains, they will immediately fall off you. And then you don't have to have that timing element for it. So let's see if I can...
That makes sense.
This one is a really big deal, actually, because
I
Ares would
Blink.
very frequently apply his ult to targets who are already CC.
But I mean, that's still a big deal,
then
Swift,
wait
if
for
you
the
think
CC
about it.
immunity to
If you have
fall
an Ares
off
on your
and
team,
then
you're
pull
making
them,
it so like
that
2 or
doesn't
3 extra
work
people
anymore.
won't have Blink,
So in
and
the
your
Ares
team
mirror matches
will.
and testing, we had a lot of people like, whoever ults first.
It's like,
the
okay,
other
they're
Ares
getting
can
to
just
have
ult
beads.
back
Now
and
we
will
all have
always win
combat
that.
blinks, and
That
they
doesn't
can't
work
because
anymore,
they need it for
the
Ares,
you
right?
hit is still CC
I feel like
immune.
that's still
So you have to wait for that to
wild
finish.
value, I
Yeah,
think.
trying to get them to actually cast their ultimate.
Can you get the Amir? You can't bots shoot them up.
I can bot shoot 4. Ooh, I can't bot shoot 4. Maybe they don't have... Nope, they will not respect that right now. So I can't, but I'll try to get Ymir to be CC immune ultimate. But
Right.
essentially it's, if they are immune during the time that you cast them, they won't be a valid target for you to chain in the first place.
Yes.
And if they become CC immune for any reason, like Ymir ult or like Purification Beads, why the chain's on them, it'll also fall off. We are also looking at feedback to make that a bit more clear, because the situations where they're actively CC immune and you ult and you don't see a chain, it feels like you don't have the feedback there. So we are looking to improve that. But that is intent, and it makes it so that people can cleanse off this effect, and you have a bit more idea of like when people have removed it, and people have a better understanding of like, oh, this is not going to affect me now anymore.
Right. So I see chat is definitely getting it right off the bat with like kind of constraining CC immunity and beads a little bit more in Smite 2. Having some additional anti-CC here is really valuable. Because this effect is really polarizing if you can't counter it. So this effectively adds for a lot more counterplay, which we think is really good. And he does. You've stacked them all on top of each other. He also still has that crash landing stun at the end. So even if people do CC immune the chains, if you stick close to them, you can still hit them with that damage and stun spike after their CC immunity fades. So like there's a lot of extra layers of counterplay to this ultimate, as opposed to it just being very prescriptive before. You can also combat blink does not have an ability or damage restriction, so you can ult people and then combat blink away to pull them even further.
Yeah. Just I figured I should show that off because that's also part of it.
People would definitely ask.
So those are the 2 new gods for this alpha test that you will be able to play today.
Yeah. Super excited for people to get their hands on Susano and Ares.
Ares is so back, yeah.
Play them. Let us know what you think. But we've also got just some other general god balance and item balance that we're going to go over today too.
Yeah, we can probably just look at patch notes for these last ones. Down to the god balance section pump on.
Is all the god stuff that we just went over.
Yeah, the full ability kit text is in the patch notes for reference.
Cool. All right, god balance. So a little bit of a general change first.
Increase the base damage of Thanatos
earlier
1
the TTK
by
changes that came in
30
the last alpha weekend.
early game.
Making some
Holy
slight
shit!
adjustments.
I know
mainly
it was kind of
towards
weak,
the
but
late game,
30
though, right?
increased base damage
we
on his
liked
ult.
that,
Or I mean, on his one.
So in Alpha
Holy
Weekend
shit.
3, we reduced all gods' base health by
That's
25%.
wild.
So this is the amount of health that they have at the start of the game. And we didn't do any
90
compensation
early
buff
game
for,
at level
like,
1
making
is
them so they match the
wild.
health at the end of the game. It was just a flat
Plus the
basically
10%?
Everyone lost around 150 to 175 health. We like the aggression that it caused in the early game, but we think it brought the TTK down too low at the late game. So we're keeping the low early game TTK. We're not adjusting that. If you're level 1, it'll be the exact same. But we are giving some health per level to make it so that when you get to the end game, that 25% that we removed is basically offset to bring our TTK back in the late game somewhere that's a bit more in the ballpark of where we want it. And it also has a secondary thing, which we'll talk about as well, which is we got a lot of feedback that playing a tank role and playing a more like really defensive role didn't feel as strong as it should. So we have obviously a whole bunch of item buffs for being more tanky that are coming up. But part of that is when you have lost a base 150 health and you build a whole bunch of protections, that health that you had was a lot more valuable on that tank than it was on a squishy. And so by giving everyone essentially an extra 150 health, people who are building procs will benefit more from that change. So it's also, it kind of doubles as a adjustment to help that feedback of tanks not feeling powerful.
Right.
So as we get into the god balance, you're going to see a lot of direct tank god buffs and item buffs. And then you're going to see some of the overperforming god nerfs and item nerfs, mostly non-tanks.
Right.
So some of these might not require very lengthy descriptions, but we'll do our best to share any insights we have on them. So first up is Thanatos. We're calling this a shift nerf.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that means he did have some things increased and some things decreased, but overall it's a net nerf numerically. Page up.
Yep. I zoomed in a little bit.
No, you're good. Thanks, Spawn. So the main thing we got the feedback from Thanos is that just Death Scythe, that hit has to chunk.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to hit hard. So his damage was maybe a little too evenly spread out across his kit, and we're moving some of it back to Death Scythe. So we got some base damage, especially early game on Death Scythe, and then the penetration nerf on Scent of Death and Soul Reap damage
Decrease
nerf
pen
on those
buff,
two to
decrease
offset that.
damage
And also he did have some
on
issues
Soul
with movement
Reap
speed. There was a couple characters that had
by
movement speed bugs that were
10
getting
and
movement speed
5%.
more
That's a
than
buff.
intended. Especially
Yes.
they effectively
That's a
weren't
buff.
being effective
I don't
at
know,
diminishing
man.
returns of
10
our
to
movement speed
22.
properly.
You're
So there's a
decreasing
few
the
things
pen
that are
buff
just
by
going
2
too fast.
at
He's
all
still gonna
levels.
go fast.
Oh, yeah.
In Smite
Decreasing his
2,
3
gods
power a
have
little bit, but
faster
increasing
base
his
speed,
early
and
Death
therefore
Scythe
some
by
items and buffs
30.
are like more powerful. We might be doing some rebalancing.
I don't know if
for
that's
that
really
in
a
the
nerf.
future.
That just seems that
But
seems fine.
For now, this is just a core fix here and that shift.
All right, the Morgan is up next. Another shift nerf. We actually talked about this when we first revealed
We
the Morgan.
teased it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said that this was a feature that was coming in. One thing that didn't ship with the release where she was added, we wanted Doomsayer, her passive, the damage over time effect, to be able to proc the Dark Omen, her second ability. And so that is in now, which is obviously a huge buff to her. It makes her able to proc that more reliably on her own. And we've paired that with a few other adjustments relating to making sure that she has her confusion and her changeling. They have extra rules that are being applied to them, which I don't actually know if this is the correct note.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I forgot to cut that third one. That changeling change didn't get in.
Okay.
Yes. As with the ever-changing
Strike
development-
that's from the record,
Strike
sir.
as you guys can give feedback on if you like this change or not, but as with game development, sometimes we work on stuff and it doesn't quite make it into the release. So to you guys,
So Morgan still gets double relics.
Yes.
For now.
Double relics.
double
Morgan.
relics for now.
So
And I believe the
trigger her
confusion
own passive
say-
and the no, that just should say nothing.
Okay.
You just didn't change it.
And then this should also say
increased
cooldown.
cooldown for
That should say that.
yes,
That's
yes.
right.
Because the amount of times that she can stealth, especially before she actually ranks the ability, it was just really frequent. And with actually the clone being a lot more convincing, people have been caught out a lot more by it, which has been interesting. So making it so that this happens less frequently gives her a little bit less safety, especially before she ranks.
This is a kind of deceivingly long cooldown because it happens right away, but it has a relatively long effect, like the stealth
Yeah.
and the
Right.
clone and stuff. So like it feels much shorter cooldown because of that uptime and the persistent time and cooldown.
Not solely
purchasing,
nerfs and
but-
buffs, agreed.
Yeah.
right.
All right, let's see who's next.
Inra nerf to the ultimate.
That's right. We
Base
nerfed it. I
damage,
believe
fight.
we've been.
Wow.
This has kind of been a theme, just nerfing Ragnarok. It's like as we're talking about Ares and the CC immunity and the value
Right.
there. Fenrir also is a key limit tester on that regard. So Ragnarok has just been really, really strong.
80
so
damage down,
taking the
wild.
damage down this time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Soul getting a couple nerfs to
Decrease healing,
Radiance and
decrease base
Supernova.
damage of
Soul,
Supernova.
again, another really strong performer. Benefits a lot from the new split item system. Just giving her a little bit less sustain overall from Radiance now that that ability does more than just be the heal and heat generator with its larger AoE. And then Supernova was obviously dealing just a lot of damage as well. We've toned that down. So it's still chunks, but just not as much.
Cool. All right. Moving on to God buffs. The
tank
Athena
buffs.
up first. Yeah.
Yeah, preemptive strike now gains physical and magical protections for 4 seconds after hitting an enemy god. That is a feature in Smite 1. She has a block stack, or that was reworked and changed in Smite 1. It's been reworked and changed a few times over the years, but currently in Smite 2, there was nothing there. So now that it's been added.
the
Confound,
slow.
the taunt, has had the slow removed entirely and effectively should feel much more like Smite 1's taunt.
Yep.
Oh, okay, that's good then.
Chalk is up next. Keeping in line with the tank buffs here.
What's up,
Yep,
Dracula?
and,
How you
for
doing?
Chalk
Thank you for the 3
especially,
stream streak.
his intelligence focus build is actually, I think, in a really good spot. But
increased
the
damage
strength focus
scaling,
build, as a
increased-
split character, it just didn't feel like it was quite doing enough.
How you doing?
And so this makes that build path a bit more viable for Chalk. It also, as a base, is kind of a buff because you do get per level strength on every character. So this also does mean that these will just be hitting harder as a flat line, but it's more beneficial to a strength build.
Chalk was already very tanky, and his debuffs are very potent. We even nerfed that recently because it was so much the case. But we were still looking to look at some key tank characters in Smite 2 and do some buffs, and we're like, Chalk, when he's really building strength, it still doesn't feel like a strength damage build, so he's getting some damage scaling bonus there.
Yep.
All right, Amir's up next. Frost Breath going to be getting an increase in the stun duration. And then Shards of Ice seeing a few buffs here to that one.
So this one, Frost Breath, is we did the CC duration reduction last update, which people really liked. And it hit everyone pretty equally. So the thing was, it would hit Ymir potentially a little bit too much, especially in the early ranks. He can't really use his stun to set up for himself and his team as he could before. So this shift is only in early rank. You can see at max rank is still the same. So we're not increasing the ceiling of the duration of this Frost Breath, the post-nerf. It's still in the new, shorter CC world. We just kind of squished those numbers a little bit to improve the lower ranks, so it feels a little bit more consistent, actually lets him set up and do things better. And then Shards of Ice is, a damage shift to make sure that he does some damage.
Yeah, cool. And then last up for God buffs, Odin just getting some increased damage on Lunge.
Yep. A strength buff here makes it so that it actually hits harder. Adds to the Bird Bomb combo, just makes that engage more potent.
All right.
So, similar deal as Chalk, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, moving on to items. Soul Devourer up next for a nerf. Popular
Yes.
item, Soul Devourer, right?
Yeah, really popular, really strong. It got a passive effect nerf last patch, getting intelligence nerf this patch. The numbers are balanced to perfection. That's why they're sometimes not even numbers. Round numbers are the enemy of balance, by the way. Like, if you rounding everything, then you end up with a lot of little imbalance issues, right? So, yeah, 57. That's where we think it's perfect, okay?
There you go.
That's enough. Moving on.
All right.
Maybe that has to come down to 55.
Right.
Or 50. Or
Was it
back up to 60.
Was it Jotuns that had 11 pen for like 2 years?
Probably, but in pen is like a really big deal. So every point of pen is really valuable.
Every
So
point matters of it.
That's a good balance. That's
All right.
good balance.
Staff of Mirrodin up next.
Really powerful active effect. Really popular item. We don't want to start just nerfing the active effect because that's like the whole point of the item. It shouldn't be so good at everything, right? So we're taking down the stats. We want to make sure items have more focused roles and more powerful roles and specific purposes. So anything that feels like it's a little too good at everything, we'll be trying to pick the thing it's supposed to be the best at and nerf the other things.
Yep.
All right, Hasten Fatalis up next is a fix.
Yes.
But is a nerf.
It's a
People were
pretty-
zooming.
it's a pretty
last
massive nerf.
update.
It's a pretty big nerf.
Yeah, so you were able to cheat basically a negative basic attack penalty with this because you just overcap it, which made you go faster while you were auto-attacking.
It was applying a double negative to you, which actually made you go faster when attacking.
Yes.
Faster than normal.
So this will fix that, which automatically is a pretty substantial nerf to what we had in the last round. We're also looking at it right now. There's how it interacts with strafing penalties is not quite where we want it to be. So that'll probably be coming in the future. So expect something more with Hasten Fatalis in the future. But this should make it a lot less crazy than we saw last Alpha Weekend.
It's still stronger than the Smite 1 version
Yes.
as far as the movement speed passive effect goes. But you have to hit twice to stack it instead of just once, and the stat offset is different between the two games. But still strong. So we'll be looking.
There's some great clips last weekend, though. I got to say, it was really funny watching people use Fatalis. But up next, Bloodforge Blade seeing a nerf, and this is our last item nerf for this release.
Yep, similar deal as what I said before on Mirrodin. This is like
Last
the go-to
nerf.
lifesteal and the active shield, which is really good, kind of a pseudo Aegis. It's very popular, picked up very frequently in the early game. Doing a little bit too much of everything by